My name's Chloe. I work for Just Eat, which, as Beth says, is the world's largest online takeaway platform. Obviously, if I'm speaking too British or too Northern, please tell me off, because I'm not from around these parts. What I'm going to take you through is basically a little bit about who Just Eat are, and understanding about our organisation will give you a bit of context into why the contact centre part is actually really quite important, and why we're choosing to leverage WebRTC and what that's actually going to do for us kind of long term. It's been a little bit of a journey, I won't lie. We're not quite as advanced on this whole journey as you guys are in the States, and it's still quite a new thing in the UK, so it's taken quite a bit of a sell internally to get this kind of underway. But it's all for the right reasons, and it's kind of all happening at full pace now. I'm going to take you through some of the decisions and why we chose to go with certain vendors and not others. And hopefully give you a bit of insight into what's going to be an awesome experience. Quick to deploy, browser-based, ultimately disposable and highly scalable. That's kind of where I'm going to go. So a little bit about kind of Just Eat then. First of all, who knows what Just Eat is? Okay, a smattering. For those that don't, obviously, it's a food ordering service, basically. So you go online, you tap the app, you basically tell the app or service where you are, and it will show you what food is available to you. Then you can order. So all your card details are saved. Basically, you can order history. It's giving you the convenience of basically living your life, as we all do, from mobile app, from the web. You can order on the hoof, which is all about how people want to, work and live these days. You want to be able to do things where you are at the ease of tapping a few buttons. So market size is pretty enormous. We're looking at 20 billion in the markets we operate in. If anybody saw the news recently, we've just put an intention to acquire the largest, or the number one players in Australia and New Zealand at the small price of just under $500 million. We're on track to deliver 1 billion food orders. That's a pretty good achievement. We started in 2001. It's actually a Danish company. And then we've kind of, exponentially kind of grown. And our kind of acquisition strategy, letting in a few secrets, is to be number one in that market. So that's why we're probably not in the States, because there's quite a lot of players. You've got Grubhub over here, and we don't really see that actually at the moment. That's probably where we want to go. As of June 2014, over 40,000 restaurants globally. That dwarfs McDonald's. We've got more Just Eat presence than McDonald's. And when you hear that, people go, okay, that's quite a big thing. You start to see the name Just Eat, and suddenly the whole high street in the UK is basically dotted with these little Just Eat logos. 6.9 million active users. The average takeaway order is around 17 quid. A few facts you may not know. So our busiest day of the year last year was Valentine's Day. And who said romance is dead in the United Kingdom? So we took a lot of orders that day. On a busy Saturday night, we are looking at writing 6,000 calls coming into the call centre, and we're processing, it's north of 900 orders a minute. I think it's more like 2,000 orders a minute when we're busy. So platform-wise, it's a pretty chunky operation now. We're leveraging AWS as our platform to kind of deal with that scale. So all familiar stories which you guys will know. I'm going to play you our advert because it will just give you a bit of context into what we're about, and hopefully we'll set the scene for a few other things I'm going to talk around. So let me just jump into this. Oh, have I lost my advert yet again? It's okay. I'm prepared. Right.
Lots of chocolate for me to eat, warm and tender as he can be. Who takes good care of me? Oh, wouldn't this be lovely?
And there's a classic mini fist pump right there. Order takeaway online or tap the app.
Lovely. Lovely.
Just Eat.
Okay. So, hang on, let's not go there again. Right, so why that is important, right, and we're going to get into this. You saw a lot of people doing this, right? You saw a lot of this, mini fist pump. That's quite a big deal in our business. It's not an air punch, it's not, America, yay. It's a subtle British mini fist pump, which is basically, there's guidelines about this stuff. We've got corporate guidelines. Your mini fist pump cannot be more than 6 inches from your hip. Your mini fist pump has to be a pullback of around 2. And what that is about small victories. So the whole ethos of takeaway, it's the anticipation of it. We're working towards actually building up to the idea of having a takeaway. So, our Twitter and social feeds are really interesting. We get things like, if you bring me a takeaway, I will marry you. I will kill you if you don't bring a takeaway now. I'll do anything for a takeaway. It's quite emotive stuff. And when you've eaten it, half the time you wish you hadn't. Every single time I have a takeaway, I actually go, you know what, I really feel really fat. I'm going to have to go running. But the anticipation, that 40 minutes build-up, is what it's all about. So what we're really leveraging there is a small victory. We're not curing cancer, but we are actually, for 40 minutes of somebody's life, we're saying, okay, you've got a takeaway, mini fist bump moment, yes, we're gonna eat in tonight, no cooking. So this is kind of what we're trying to leverage. And the reason why that's important is because if you jump in, it's things like this, extra hour in bed, mini fist bump. You miss that, you get the last carriage on the train, it's a mini fist bump moment. So why is this relevant to Twilio? Why is this relevant to anything that I'm telling you about? It comes down to our mission statement. So our mission statement is to empower consumers to love their takeaway experience. So everything we do, every change to the product, every interaction, whether that's contact center, whether it's the app, whether it's the online experience, it has to be about making that experience as good as it possibly can be. And I think it's also important to kind of realize that our customers are actually these guys here. So that's our UK MD, Graham Caulfield. He's with local owner kind of takeaway. And we've also got the actual, so let me go back. Customers, bear in mind, are the TRs, so the takeaway owners, and it's you guys. You're ordering food, they're cooking food, they're both our customers. We're an aggregation service. People sign up to be part of the platform, so we need to deal with both those things. The phone's in there because actually our biggest competitor is the phone. So as much as the fact that people want the convenience of actually ordering online, etc., there's a vast majority of people who would rather just rig up the phone and ring the local takeaway themselves. A bit antiquated, but a lot of people are still doing that. So yeah, mission statement, everything we do, empower consumers to love their takeaway experience. So where does the phone fit into this? So contact center is one of the trickiest parts of our business. Because when the food doesn't look like that, and it looks a bit grey, and it looks like something you wish you'd not even bothered ordering in the first place, when it doesn't arrive at all, that is a common problem, that's when people ring. So people ring us when they're angry. They don't ring the restaurant, they ring Just Eat as that service to go, I've had a really bad takeaway experience. So at that point, they ring our contact centre and they're annoyed. Most people only ring contact centres. They don't ring to say, great takeaway, I had the best pizza ever. They don't ring to do that. They go, that was shit. That's what they go. So that's what we're dealing with. So you're dealing with angry, slightly agitated people most of the time. So on a Saturday night, we're taking around 6,000 kind of calls. We're dealing with concurrency. And at the moment, our internal platforms just aren't built for scale. They're pieces of tin basically sat in our kind of on-premise kind of infrastructure. There's only a certain amount of channels coming into the organisation. So when we actually hit peak or something happens where we have to respond, we don't even have enough channels. We don't have any scalability to take those calls. So we knew we had to do something about this as an ICT department. So that's kind of where Twilio kind of fits in. So what we need to be doing is delivering highly scalable, highly available, browser-only, disposable contact center technology. That was the brief. Zcom, which is what we've got, is not it. Zcom is a 1995-looking sort of just on-prem based contact center with IVR capability, but fundamentally it works. As much as the fact that there's no scalability, there's no availability, from an agent perspective, it's just like picking up the phone, it's over copper, it does all the things you would expect it to do. So from a kind of exec level, there's a lot of vision around changing this to be browser-based, quick to deliver, quick to deploy, but the agents just want to deal with their angry customers. And so this project it's been a journey to actually get people to do things in different ways. So what have we been doing? So we've been looking, we did an RFP. It's taken sort of a year to get to the point where people are confident in the decisions we've made. We've looked at all the usuals, we've looked at Avaya, Asterisk, we went through Twilio Direct, we've looked at LiveOps, we've looked at New Voice Media. All of these things are kind of leveraging contact center in the cloud. And what we actually ended up with was a scenario where we thought, okay, we don't want to put all of our eggs in one particular basket. And in Twilio Direct, at the point when we made the decisions, we're saying, okay, we're investing completely in WebRTC, but we don't really know what WebRTC will do in the UK. The infrastructure, there's lots of unknowns, will voice quality work? And all of these rumblings were coming out of our networking team who were quite wedded to the Cisco solution because that's what they've been doing all of their kind of professional lives. So me waltzing in and going, you know what, chaps, we're not doing it that way. It wasn't quite as easy as that. It was a bit more of a, let's actually look at the reality of whether voice over the internet has got all the assumptions with Skype, latency, jitter, all the challenges that people assume it has, and what actually is the reality of that. So what we've actually chosen to do, we're actually leveraging a company called LiveOps. I don't know if you know LiveOps. Yeah? So for those that do, and for those that don't, LiveOps is a contact center in the cloud and partner of Twilio. And the reason why we decided to use those guys as kind of the contact center cloud piece was because we didn't actually have the dev resource to build the API, from the ground up and do it with all the building blocks. We didn't actually have the resource to do that. And another good thing that LiveOps enables us to do is it gives you multiple channels for delivering calls. So I can say, okay, my primary call delivery is WebRTC via Twilio, but if for any reason that's not available, they've got a secondary in Plevo, which is great because it gives us a WebRTC failover, which we wouldn't have had, and it also allows us to deliver via a PSTN route using SIP. So suddenly, we've got all of these DR scenarios that actually weren't in play before. So that's quite a nice place to be. I think our long-term strategy is that we will work with Twilio directly because actually multiple vendors, multiple partners has its own raft of challenges which are making me quite grey. So we'll get into that in a second. There's a couple of other things that are really worth pointing out here. So LiveOps is key, Twilio's key, Zendesk is key. So we're integrating all of this into a unified Zendesk instance for our agents. So that's how they manage their tickets, that's how they manage their workloads. We're also developing a piece of integration that basically routes and pops tickets related to who's actually on the phone. So we want agents to be able to see that when Mr. Pizza rings in, he's ringing to actually say, you know what, okay, we know who it is, and we know that these tickets correlate to your last 7 to 10 kind of interactions that you've been dealing with. So that's making life a lot easier for our agents. It's giving us an integrated kind of view. It's integrating our CRM channels across the business. Another player in this is Chrome. So Chrome's really important because using WebRTC and Twilio, we can just get rid of phones. We can deliver straight to the browser, and we're a Google house as well. So what our vision is to deploy Chrome contact centers that you can pick up and power on in about 15 seconds, because that's actually picking a Chromebook and turning it on. We're talking of kiosk moding the Chromebook into Zendesk, so the agents don't even have a choice anymore. They just pick it up, and that's what they do. And that's the future. That's what we're aiming to do. And all these partnerships, they are leveraging this browser-only, highly available, highly disposable call center environment. So where are we now? It's not all been plain sailing, I won't lie. So quick to deploy, yeah. We have basically deployed to Canada, we've deployed to Ireland. We're doing our UK deployment, which is our biggest call center seats for around 300 agents on July the 15th. And at that point, that's when it's going to start to get interesting. We're building out the integration. So that's something which I think will drip feed in as part of the deployment kind of plan. But at the moment, the guys have actually, in Ireland and in Canada, have got LiveOps as a soft phone with Twilio plugged into it, and that's working really nicely. Ireland have actually got rid of all of their kind of Windows machines. They've gone totally Chrome, and the cost savings and the footprint of actually doing that, it's changed a call center agent, which is generally around 800, 900 quid. By the time you put antivirus on, you've done all the kind of building of the machines, to a Chrome device, which is 150 quid. So we've actually changed that footprint to around 50% less by the time you bought the headsets and the other things. So that's all been good news. Some things that is just worth flagging. So it's hard to troubleshoot. Yeah, this deployment has been hard to troubleshoot. That's a fact. Because with a Cisco environment, which was the other alternative, the guys were really familiar with that. That's all in their network. They got control. You basically know if it's not one scenario, it's going to be another to a point. And in this, we've got LiveOps in the mix. We've got Twilio in the mix. We've got our own network in the mix. And the way we're leveraging LiveOps, there's basically multiple hops to get to the call. So there's the LiveOps leg of the call, which then connects to the WebRTC leg of the call. So call quality can degrade over various different legs. So that's quite difficult to troubleshoot and to isolate where problems might occur. Obviously, all the good stuff have been able to say, okay, what if WebRTC is unavailable? We can then deliver over the PSTN and still have our IVR in play. That's good, but it means that there is multiple places where things can start to break down, which on a Saturday night, if it starts to break down at our core moment of business, I think that's going to be a challenge. So letting go of control feeds into that as well. We've been doing cloud deployments. I personally have been doing cloud deployments for kind of the last 5 years. So, going through the whole ICT reluctance to release control, sending things into the cloud, it's obviously a no-brainer, but there's still a lot of people who don't want to let go. So that's been a bit of a change management exercise. We've been through quite a lot of argy-bargy, let's say, over that in our offices. Difficult to test. How could I get our FD to sign this project off without actually testing it? But nobody wanted to actually flip over and test it on a Saturday night when we have peak before we actually signed up to it. So I basically phoned everybody I knew in every industry, and we organised a simulation test about Monday morning at 11 o'clock, and I got 150 people to ring concurrently over at a set time, leveraging the technology, so we could test what Saturday night would look like on a Monday morning. And we then did a Moss scale test. We actually did all the evaluation. 5's great, 4 was it's good enough, 3 was annoying, 2 was it's very annoying, and 1 was it's impossible to communicate. And we did a rating, and we came out of a 4.7. So we knew from a call quality perspective, this was actually fine. There were a lot of myths about call quality. When we first started the pilot, we had some challenges because we were actually routing via Las Vegas. We didn't realise. So yes, there was a hell of a lot of lag. But it was things like that we've had to kind of go through and unpick. And now we kind of know how to configure and set this up. So making phone calls, a given. You pick up the phone, you make a call, you want it to go through. But at the moment that something doesn't work, whether it's something to do with the browser, something's cached, maybe they've released an update, LiveOps this is, and actually at that point some of the buttons that you're used to seeing have disappeared. All of this stuff of moving telephony into a browser world, you suddenly get different challenges. And the moment you experience anything on the phone, from what we've found, and you guys will know all of this, people get really impatient. So, phone calls, it's an immediacy that you've got no time to actually go, okay, just bear with us 2 seconds while we fix this. You're already having a bad experience. We're already giving customers a bad experience the moment things start to go a bit of askew. So I think we've had to put in some fat for troubleshooting particular instances where, call quality's gone or there's something in the browser which isn't working as they would expect. Enables flexible working. Yeah, it does. You can work anywhere in the world now. We've deployed contact centres in a week. If we have a flood like we did last year in our Borehamwood office, and we had to basically go and build a call centre from scratch using various bits of technology in our fleet office, we can actually just send people home now. You can work anywhere. And a great story for Ireland is that they've gone and repurposed the money that they're actually using to send agents home in taxis at 2 a.m. because now they're actually able to work from home and they do their late shifts from home. We've actually repurposed all of that kind of late night shift cover into their Chrome devices. So finance guys loved that. There was nothing bad there. Enables disposability is key. So there was some myth, I think, last year that our contact centres were going to keep growing. We're not a contact centre factory. We don't want to actually increase contact. We want to reduce it. So when the business case was to actually, we could do this with Cisco. We could go and spend £300,000 and actually have a Cisco environment that would give us scale. It would give us some browser stuff. It would give us actually some of the things that a true cloud solution does with all the comfort of it having a Cisco badge. But we'd have to sweat that asset out in Rackspace or in a data center or in Telecity for 3 years, assuming that our contact center numbers would grow. What we can do with LiveOps and Twilio, if we want to kill the contact center in a year, in 5 months, we can scale right back down, and that is something which, from a strategic position, we can do things in instances. It's totally disposable, totally scalable. The biggest challenge I think I've had deploying this is multiple partners, which is why I think a direct relationship with Twilio is inevitably the way to go, because they understand all the voice tracked. You're not including different legs of the call where things can occur. And also we're utilising LiveOps through a channel partner. So now I've got probably 5 people I need to speak to if I want a real view, not even including the carriers at the other end of the spectrum of where things can and can't go wrong. So that's been a challenge, but it's one that we're working with now. We're in a good place now. It's just been part of the project, just to flag that if you include more people into the mix, there is more people you need to tell off, inevitably. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And I think one of the things, let me just come out of there. So, a couple of things, right? Troubleshooting. So I'll just talk to you briefly about this. This is something I really want Twilio to do. So it's not a pitch. So when we are actually struggling to determine what a problem is, we've got 2 routes. It's either a LiveOps problem or it's a Twilio problem. So a quick test is to actually plug LiveOps in via PSTN, and if actually there's no problems, then we know there's something somewhere potentially going wrong on the Twilio side of things. Twilio have got things like their Heroku app. They've got Chrome kind of WebRTC internals where you can actually open up the voice channel on a particular call instance and you can see what's going on. So at that point, we've benchmarked what's good, what is a good call in terms of jitter, packet loss latency, and you can start to see on an individual call what the actual metrics are, which is good for troubleshooting, but it doesn't give you an overall view of what's happening at the call center. So what I really would like is some tool which actually says, for our contact center, here are the metrics, and here is an overall view of what the good environment or a bad environment is. Our ops director really wants that in play before we actually deploy this, because he doesn't want 300 people to be angry on the phone and then come to ICT and then for us to troubleshoot it. So that's where I think there's something we can work to kind of achieve and get into a bit of a better place. And finally, it's the mini fist pump moments. So yeah, going to Ireland rang up on Friday, the 11th of January, and they said, we need a call centre in 3 days because ours has just died. Can you help us? And I said, yeah, actually, we'll get on a plane and we'll deploy this. And we did it in 2 days. So Ireland are suddenly working, and they weren't working before. And that actually got quite a bit of kudos for this. Quick deployment was awesome. They then have started a home working program, which is not official. It's not anything our operations guys are overly aware of. HR definitely aren't aware of it. But basically, the contact center manager decided that he was going to leverage the ability to go and send his agents home. They took a Chromebook, a headset, and you've got a contact center. And I don't care what anybody says, that is the future. That's what we're doing all over the world now. And yeah, it's a mini fist pump moment right there. That's it.